the fundamentals of Create. There are three main fundamentals in the Create mod. This is version 0.3. So first off, I want to start off with, this is the main tool that you will use in Create. It is called the wrench. It can be used to turn components, pick up components, and configure them. The second thing that you'll want are the engineer's goggles. These can help you see different information that you wouldn't normally be able to see. If we come over here, none of these things say anything. Nothing. Nothing says anything. However, we throw on the goggles, and boom, we start seeing info. The other use that these goggles have is if I hover over this mechanical press and hold shift, it'll give me some information such as stress impact high 8 times the RPM. If I take off my goggles, it just says high. It does not tell me the ratio. So that's a very important tip. If you don't see those numbers, it's because you don't have your goggles on. So to get started, the first main component is rotation. That is what the Create mod is based around. It is anytime you have a generator, it will produce some sort of rotation, and it will come out, and then you can transmit that rotation in various ways. I will have a video on the transmission of rotation. Just a couple of the common things are shaft, small cogs, and large cogs. The large cogwheel has 16 teeth, and the small cogwheel has 8. So that means that every time the large cogwheel spins, the small one spins twice, meaning that you can use these connected together to change speeds. So I just have a small little water wheel set up, and I'll explain that in a different video, and I just have it coming out here. Now I have two different gauges going on. One is the stressometer, and the other is the speedometer. Now stress in a system is always the same no matter where you take it. No matter what speed the shafts are spinning at, stress will always be the same. So if I take this guy, it says 256 and network stress low, and I put it on the fast guy over here, oops, there, still low 256. So stress does not change throughout a system. These are speedometers. Speed can change throughout a system. So what you'll notice is that I have a large gear going into a small one, and then a large one going into a small one. And what you'll see is down here, the speed is 16 RPM, goes up to 32 RPM, goes up to 64 RPM. So I'm doubling my speed every time I go from a large to a small. This is going to be the method of changing speeds for early game Create. Rotation has two different factors in it, speed and its stress. Now, stress, like I said, is same throughout the entire system, and it is based off of what components you have hooked up. Since we don't have any components hooked up, we have 0 stress on the system. But we have a capacity, 256 stress units. That's what SU stands for, stress units. This is based off of the generator you were using, which, like I said, I'll go into in a different video. Speed is based off of your generator, but it can be changed. So the water wheel outputs 16 RPM, but here, we're doubling it, going to 32, going up to 64. Different generators generate different amounts of speed. But, as you can see, you can change it in a system. There are a couple of blocks in Create, such as the mechanical mixer, that actually have a speed requirement, which say moderate, and it's 30 plus RPM. So right here, this guy is spinning at 32 RPM. And so if I were to hook up to this, it would work just fine. But if I were to hook up to the 16 RPM, it wouldn't function. So the mechanical mixer has a speed requirement. Not many other blocks in this Create mod require a certain speed, but I will go into depth on that later. But how can you convert between the speed that you have in different places and how much stress there is on the system? Well, if you have your goggles on, like I already mentioned, you can see a stress impact. In the mechanical press's case, it is 8 times the RPM. So, what I have here is, this is just the gearbox for where the water wheel is coming out. So it's going 16 RPM. So if I did 8 times 16, so 8 times RPM, what you would get is you would get 128. So if I place this here, you'll see it starts spinning, it connects to this guy, and you can see stress impact 128 stress units out of 256. So that is exactly what the mechanical press is doing. So now this guy right here has a 32 RPM. So it has gone up in speed. So if I hook it up to this shaft, you'll now see it's 256 stress units. So we're maxed out on all of our stress. We can't go any higher. So that 8 times the RPM, 8 times 32 is 256. So that is a way to convert between stress units and RPM. You need to look at the stress impact ratio on the machine. So stress is all about capacity. So if I take this mechanical press and I try to put it on the 64 times 8 is 512, boom, stress impact 512, and you'll get this overstressed message. That means that the whole system cannot turn. You're going way too much. You are overstressed for your system. Nothing will work. If I remove that, it goes back to working. If I place it here again, it's at 256, so we're using all the stress, but you can go down to 0, you just can't go below that. So a stress is more of a capacity, how much you can put onto a single system before it stops working. Speed is all about how fast things go. Although some machines don't have a speed requirement, speed does affect how fast those machines work. Such as these mechanical presses here, the slower speed obviously goes slower than what the faster speed does. Thank you all very much for watching today's episode on the fundamentals of Create. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and as always, this is Noah. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.